Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is ZillaFan85. I'm back today with my latest video, my latest figure review. And today, once more, as this year is the 50th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Gigan, as we're currently in 2022 still, and Godzilla vs. Gigan came out in 1972, I wanted to go ahead with a nice little treat and review my Trendmasters Gigan figure. So this was the first ever Gigan figure that I got in my collection. I've had this ever since I was a kid. Again, these Trendmasters figures hold a lot of nostalgic fondness for me. Grew up with these as my mainstay Godzilla figures, and had a lot of fun over the years playing with them and just keeping them for my collection. So definitely do cherish these figures quite a bit. So as you guys may have seen, I reviewed a couple of my other Trendmasters figures thus far. I do plan on getting around to all of them that I have in my collection. So, but like I said, definitely wanted to go ahead and review Gigan here today, as we're still currently in his 50th anniversary year. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into it here. So I'm actually going to start, before I get to the figure, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the card that came with him. Now, these Godzilla King of the Monsters figures, which came out 94 to 95 range, and then of course you had the Godzilla Wars line from Trendmasters. They came with these cards. Very, very cool. As you guys can see, this is Godzilla King of the Monsters line. It's got the 1995 Toho copyright there. Very, very cool. And of course, Gigan at the top with a nice little shot of him. Nice artwork. I really appreciate it. I think it looks very, very cool. Again, these are not, these Trendmasters figures for the most part are not movie accurate. They're stylized designs, but I still think they look cool nonetheless. Of course, the back of the card with a little read-up on Gigan, as well as some stats, and of course the Trendmasters Godzilla King of the Monsters and the Gigan trademark logo. And of course, you guys can freeze frame or pause your video if you want to go ahead and do the read-up on that. But very cool. Let me see, this was number 10 in the line. So, very awesome. One more look at the front of the card. And let's go ahead and put that aside, and let's jump into the figure itself. So again, a stylized design of Gigan, but still pretty cool nonetheless. And this guy, obviously not in perfect shape. Like I said, I've had him since I was a kid. But, kept him as best as I could anyway. So you can see here with the paint and the detail to begin with. So this sort of military green color that he's got around his body, along the, his limbs here, his arms and legs, and of course his neck, and running into the face area. And you got some scaling along the neck as well there, and some segments there. So that looks pretty cool. I like that. On the face itself, you have sort of that plating, that almost armor plating look on the forehead area, and you got the red dot there, signature of Gigan. And of course, that red visor-like eye that he's got, very, very cool looking. I always like that. And they kept that design, trademark design of Gigan pretty much intact there. Of course, you got his beak there, as he's a sort of like bird cyborg, like kaiju, if you will. He's got his beak there with the tusks on the side there, and this is done in a sort of off tannish bone color. Not really movie accurate. It should be more of a silverish color, but it gives it a little bit more of a natural design. You got the teeth running along the top and the bottom, etched in, as you guys can see, sculpted on individually. And that's actually pretty accurate, because he does have teeth throughout his beak, so that's pretty cool. And you got some sort of this very, very dark, almost like a deep purplish paint inside the mouth, the roof of the mouth and the bottom of the mouth. And then you got this bright red tongue in the center on the bottom of the mouth, so you guys can see that. Nice attention to detail there. And it's a little dusty, sorry about that, but very, very cool nonetheless here. And of course, you got the horn on top of his head here, and then of course the spikes along his neck there. Again, done in that off tannish color. And it's a pretty hard plastic, so these are actually fairly sharp to the touch. I know, again, a little bit of fading on the paint. Guess this is an older figure, but very cool nonetheless. And of course, those off tannish bone color spikes run along his tail as well. And then, of course, you got that sharp tip, that sort of needle-like tip for the end of his tail. And it's almost got it's got a bit of a curved design to it, which is pretty cool. It should be a little bit more straight, but I still think that looks very cool. Makes him look very, very menacing. And speaking of that, here again, you can see along the arms, the military greenish arms there, the scales, some of the musculature design going throughout them. And then, of course, you got again, more of that off tannish bone color for his hook claws that he's got. And these really have a very distinct curve to them, more so than the actual movie accurate design of Gigan. But again, gives him a very, very menacing look. And again, these are fairly sharp to the touch as well. So that's really, really cool. I really like that, almost like a scythe sort of hook claw, the way that they did that. So I definitely appreciate that. And of course, again, more of the off tannish bone color for the spikes that run along his chest and abdomen area for that buzzsaw chest he's got, and some of that military green in between. So you guys can see that there. And again, more of the military green with some scaling and musculature segments on his legs there. This guy is pretty beefy, you know. Looks like he's been hitting the weights there. So you guys can see, you got the kneecaps pretty prominent there. And then, of course, again, that one very sharp toe claw that he's got on each foot. Again, that off tannish bone color. So very cool. I mean, it's a little bit rounded on these, so not super sharp, but definitely captures that look very well. Again, all these tannish parts really should have been silver for the actual design, but again, these are stylized designs, so very cool nonetheless. And of course, as well, I want to talk about his chest and abdomen area. You've got those golden scales running all along chest and abdomen, and done in that very King Ghidorah-ish design feature. So you guys can see that. Now there are holes there, which I believe, well, there's a rendition of this that you can actually put a battery in, and there's parts on the figure that light up. This particular one does not have that. But they still kept those holes there nonetheless. So I don't know if it's light up or if he roars or something on the other one, but this one does not have that option. But also, though, you've got the signature sort of bluish. Well, on this one, anyways, it's done in a bluish color, but this sort of crosshatch patterning he's got, which run along his shoulders, or to meet in the middle. Right in the bottom of his chest, his upper abdomen area. You got him running along his thighs as well. And again, that patterning, that bluish color runs into that midsection there, which I believe that should have been more just the greenish color, but they chose to use blue here, like a sky blue almost. But I think it really looks cool. Gives them a very distinct feature. So I definitely do appreciate that. And again, more of the King Ghidorah scales running along his tail here, as you guys can see that. Very, very cool. And really, you know, definitely a lot of attention to detail that they paid for him. And of course, the bottom of the tail, you got this military green strip, and you can see all the segments along the bottom of the tail as well. And then, of course, you got the copyright information from 1995 Toho, and of course, made in China, and Trendmasters. So, you guys, hopefully that'll pick it up on camera there. Very, very cool. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, Gigan's very unique wings. So he's got this triple wing set up here. Now, these are slightly bent again, you know, just wear and tear with age. You can see the spikes along each tip there. Again, you got the military green for sort of the outline, and you got some goldish highlights done in between the green. You can see it on both sides of the wings, so the inner wings as well as the outer part of the wings there. Very, very cool. Really nice pattern work. Now, these wings are a little bit of a softer plastic, so I guess that's why they kind of got bent a little bit over time, of course, just wear and tear. But very, very cool nonetheless. I really like the patterning on the wings here. Again, I'm not really fully 100% accurate, of course, to Gigan's design. You know, again, it's more of a stylized take on Gigan's wings. But I still think that they look very cool nonetheless. You know, so I really do appreciate that. So very, very awesome. So yeah, there was a bunch of stuff there. Gigan's a pretty uniquely designed kaiju, so bunch to go over there as far as the paint and the detail, but that covers it for that, I think. Next up, let's take a look at the articulation. So Trendmasters figures, for the most part, just some basic articulation. So, so you got the swivel for the head, and you would be able to go all the way around, but obviously the sculpt of the wings is going to hinder that. But you can still look left and right, and he can go quite a ways. So very, very cool there. And of course you got the swivels here, the arms. They join into the shoulders, and those can go all the way around. They may rub up against the legs a little bit, as you guys can kind of see, but you can still get them to go all the way around nonetheless. Of course, the legs themselves swivel, and if you move the arms out of the way, they will go all the way around there. Again, mine with age, the joints are a little bit looser than they should be. This one's a little tighter than this one, but you guys can see you can spin them all the way around. And last, on the tail, this can swivel, and if you kind of move the legs upward, you can actually swivel the tail a full 360 as well. So just something to note there. Obviously, you just have to move certain other joints out of the way in order to get the full range of motion, but still very cool nonetheless. So for, you know, for a figure like this, I think the articulation definitely gets the job done. Now, as far as sizing goes, so these Trendmasters figures, they are smaller figures than like your standard Bandai figures and whatnot. They're not in the 6 to 7 inch range. These are more like 4 to 5 inch figures. So to give you a little bit more of an accurate measurement here for Gigan, here's the ruler, and you guys can kind of see there. So just kind of taking a look here, like the top of the head, top of the horn area. And it's roughly about 4.5 inches. And of course, you can always do what you need to if you need to convert to centimeters. So, about a 4.5 inch tall figure. And just as a little size comparison, because these, for the most part, do size in well with their other Trendmasters counterparts. So, of course, I have my Trendmasters Godzilla here, who I previously reviewed. And you guys can see, just for a little size comparison, Gigan's a little bit bigger than Godzilla. He's more like a straight 4-inch figure. But I think, though, that definitely works, definitely gets the job done nonetheless. And it gives Gigan a little bit more of an imposing feel, just to be a tad bigger than Godzilla. So, very, very awesome. Let's go ahead and put him aside here. And now, as far as pricing goes, well, that's the thing. These Trendmasters figures were discontinued, 20 some odd years ago, 25 or more years ago, 26, something like that. So a long time ago that they discontinued the line. So obviously they're becoming more and more rare. When they first came out, they were these figures were kind of like $7 to $8 figures. Nowadays, there's certain Trendmasters figures that cost more than others just because of rarity. Gigan's a bit more on the common side. I've usually seen this particular Gigan figure running anywhere from roughly around $20 to $30. So not terrible. It's not really going to break the bank. I don't know that it's necessarily a $20 or $30 figure, especially like I said, when you look at the initial MSRP, which is more like $7 or $8. But still, nonetheless, like I said, if you're a collector and you love these vintage Trendmasters figures, really you can't go wrong. I definitely recommend it, and I think Gigan is an awesome figure here. I think, though, that about wraps it up for this video, though, folks. I would certainly like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.